The biggest thing is seeing people finally accepting themselves and slowly gaining the confidence.
Those lulls where you feel lower in motivation, they're temporary because you've been through them before. You trust yourself to come back from them.
When I look back on Mills, I would not do that again. That was pretty tough.
The question is, how have you got to a position now where you're completely coming from a place of self-love compared to coming from that place of self-hate before? Because that's a huge change from a mindset shift. Monika, you lost 20 kilos in a very, very short space of time. What triggered that?
That's a good question. I think what triggered me was a few years of not really believing on myself and feeling undervalued, and also thinking a lot of my problems in high school, they come from me being fat, which when I look back, I really wasn't that fat. I was probably the same weight as I am now. But it really engraved deeply in my head that I need to lose weight so my life can get better. I had actually very dark days thinking I'm so fat, I shouldn't be even like breathe or like be in here because I'm so fat. Like that was that teenage years that I went through that were very, very stormy. So what I've done, I had no help. So I've done it myself, which came with a lot of cardio, tons of hours of cardio a week, and eating close to nothing. I've lost the weight pretty quickly. Not only the weight, but also my my hair, they started to fall out. It was a very unhealthy place for me to be. And that was just before going to uni to study in different city, being away from the family. Parents got worried and they said they won't send me to uni because they don't trust I'm gonna care of my body well. So I promised to do better. And that's what triggered the journey I went through, is just not feeling good enough. Which then led to better things in life. But I wish I could have some help at that point in time, so I don't put my body through that much.
It's crushing to hear that you went through that, because no one should ever feel like they shouldn't be here on the planet. And the fact that you felt like that because of your body composition, it's crushing. But also I can relate, because as a teenager, I felt the same way. I did exactly the same thing. I remember vividly trying to hit below a certain number of calories each day that I was eating. And that is so damaging from, as you say, a mindset perspective, but then also from health, what that has done to your health. And I'm not surprised that your parents were scared to send you to uni when they were that worried about you. Yeah. The question is, how have you got to a position now where you're completely coming from a place of self-love compared to coming from that place of self-hate before? Because that's a huge change from a mindset shift.
Yes. It took me a couple of years to get to the point where I'm completely happy with my body. When I lost dramatically that amount of weight, I went to uni and discovered Zumba. It's a huge passion of mine. I've started to go 3 times a week, and one class is like 1 hour and a half. So I started to do one class every other day. Then I started to do 2 classes 3 times in a week, and that gave me so much passion, something to focus on. I loved dancing since I was little. I was always on the dance classes when I was a small girl. So I found something that really loved doing after uni. And with time, it developed passion for fitness for me. And also with that amount of moving I had throughout the week, my eating got better because I had to eat more to have energy for the classes. And I remember coming back on one winter evening. It was a short walk from the studio to my room in uni. And I thought, wow, I feel good. I love myself. I remember that very vividly that evening when I was coming back. I was like, I finally feel good. And I used to say that Zumba changed my life 180 degrees, and it really did. Because from that point onwards, I became an instructor. Then I wanted to educate myself forwards, went into PT and then teaching classes, other fitness classes than Zumba. And then at some point at uni, I was like, I just want to do fitness for a living and help people to save time, because I think I've lost a lot of years because I didn't have direction or someone by my side that would tell me what I'm doing wrong and what I can do better.
That makes me so happy, because if you hadn't found Zumba, then you wouldn't be here now transforming the lives of
True.
all of the incredible women that we work with. And you also wouldn't be probably in such a good place mentally and physically yourself. Those wow moments, oh, they're the best. Where you're just so either proud of yourself or grateful, or you just know that it's clicked. It's all working, and you feel much safer, I think, especially after having gone to those dark depths that you've been to. What was it about Zumba that made you feel that way?
That is a great question. I loved dancing since I was a little girl. So there was always passion for movement, and I could always hear music a bit differently than other kids. I used to hear the music and see it as movement. And in Zumba, you don't really have, it's not like a dance course, it's just fitness and Latin dance styles combined. So it's very easy to pick up. There's a lot of repetitive movements in it. And it just brings so much joy because you can feel like a dancer on the first class that you go. And then the vibe of the classes was like you're going for a party. And for me, it was a win-win because I was enjoying the movement finally. Because one thing I've done when I started losing weight at the beginning is I was running, and I absolutely hated running. But I saw it as only one way of movement in the small town we were living. There was no other facilities, so I had to run to the cardio. So finding an activity that I enjoyed and bringing me the same results of cardiovascular output, I was like, that is brilliant. And I absolutely loved it. And also the friends I made throughout being participant, then teaching the classes, just led to all the great things in life that happened.
The beautiful thing is that there was like this invisible thread which you maybe hadn't connected between what you loved when you were younger
Mm.
and your passion for movement. And that, when it clicked, is what solved everything for you. And this is something that you and I will see very commonly within people who might come and work with us, and they'll have a preconception if they've never quite had that click or that connection with the type of movement that serves them from a mental and a physical perspective. They will feel like they are destined to not lose body fat or get into the shape that they want to, because they just hate the thought or the feeling of exercise, because
Yeah.
it's either painful or it just feels like a chore. So, what would your takeaway from your journey be to those that struggle with that?
Find the form of movement that you enjoy. It does not have to be just gym, push, pull, leg split. It doesn't have to be high work session, which is very trendy at the moment. It's something that you enjoy. If it's hiking, it's a great activity like to build up on your legs to burn calories. Anything that includes movement that you enjoy. And there is definitely something. There's so many fitness programs out there. There's so many there's so many things that you can do to find a movement that you like. And sometimes it takes one classes. Like for me, it took one class to just absolutely fell in love with Zumba. Sometimes you just need to keep trying. If it's boxing, if it's functional session, or you enjoy one-on-one, just you and the machines at the gym, there's always something. But if we don't try, we will never know. So I think with our clients, we do encourage them to find that something that serves them.
It's like trying to find the right partner,
I knew you were gonna go that way.
but it is like you gotta try, see if it works. If it doesn't quite, if the fit isn't quite right, then move on. Leave it.
Yeah.
And sometimes maybe it takes a couple of tries to give something a go. I think the reason why that's probably something that a lot of women struggle with nowadays is because the social media narrative of you have to
Mm.
do this to do this, or don't do this if you want to achieve this, it's suffocating. But when it comes back down to the laws of thermodynamics, calories in versus calories out, and how you're going to expend those calories, well, what matters above everything else? Is it how many calories, or is it how consistent you are? You and I both know it's how consistent you are.
Yeah.
But you can't be consistent if you don't enjoy it. And as you literally said earlier, it was like one Zumba class, then two, and then before you knew it, how many classes were you teaching when you were instructing?
I was teaching 3 to 4 classes a day. So straight after uni, repack, and I had to, it was tough, especially in winter, because at uni I didn't have a car, so I have to go by bus on every single gym. And each single gym was like 20 minutes away. So I had to finish the class and after every class you drenched. So you change and you come back with a backpack. I looked like a little Dora the Explorer every time I was coming back from teaching. I had no other social life that at some point than teaching, but I absolutely loved it. I remember really regretting and feeling I'm missing out on my uni life at some point. But then when I had the time, I went out with my people from the group. I did not enjoy it, just sitting there chatting about nothing. I just did not enjoy it. I was like, wow, I have to go and try it to know that it's not for me. And I just love teaching and giving people, making them feel good through movement is absolutely heart fulfilling when you see the smiles, the sweaty faces in the classes, especially when the class is just vibing with it. It's amazing.
I can only imagine how much you began to thrive in confidence during that time as well, because not only are you a better version of you that you love yourself, but then you're teaching others and you're giving others, and obviously that's what your whole career has then become. One thing that I didn't ask, and now I'm really curious about, is how once you found Zumba and you were doing so much more energy expenditure,
Mm.
someone listening to this might think, oh, okay, well, no wonder it was easy for you to lose the body weight and to keep it off. But your journey hasn't stayed the same. However, also, you probably had to change your eating habits as you began to be way more active. So, firstly, what were your eating habits when you
Mm.
believed you were overweight and you struggled with your weight when you were younger? And then how did that change as you found Zumba?
Hmm. At this point in time when I was doing Zumba multiple times a week, I still did not have my education on nutrition. I was eating things that I think they're healthy, but not really measuring it. But I just thought, after 4 day of teaching, I can open the fridge, take whatever it's there. So in a way, I was happy that I was eating more, but still lacking that bit of a direction, which came not that long after when I've done my first nutritional course, which really opened my eyes. Um, and then I started to think more about the protein because after initial body, so when I okay, so when I dropped the weight the first time, I kind of rebounced at uni. Then starting Zumba, I dropped again. And then because the body got adjusted to the amount of movement and food I was eating, the weight started to creep up. It's like, oh, heck, what do I do? And then I got a bit more interested in nutrition, trying to find a source of information that's actually reliable. Then explored strength training session as well, where then at that point of time, that was towards the end of the bachelor's degree, that I was having a bit more direction with food. And I was really focused on protein, carbohydrate, and fats because I understood that.
But did you find that easy to do? Because you went from not having all this knowledge to then having the knowledge, but almost sometimes too much knowledge can be overkill. And you're like, okay, there's protein, there's carb, there's calorie. How much do I need to eat? And then metabolic adaptation. How did you get to the point where you were clear on what you were doing exactly for your body for that to work?
It was so confusing. It is. It was the information I was processing at the time, and I knew ultimately where do I want to get with it, body composition wise. That I knew why I was doing it, but measuring everything, finding it in my fitness pal, it was just a pilava for me to start with. It's like, why do I have to do so much? It should be easy. But with time, you practice, you rinse and repeat, and that just becomes your second nature. Like at this point in time, I can eyeball the portion and roughly know how much it weighs or how much the products come with, carbs, protein, fats. Um, but I think it's like every other skill, like you have to practice it.
It is a difficult skill, but one that it's kind of like having the time period as a child where you're learning how to ride a bike. You put the stabilizers on, right? Which is you've got all of this information, the proteins, the carbs, the calories. You're trying to figure out how these macros look and how they work. And then before you know it, you're kind of like, okay, I have this baseline knowledge. Now I'm in such a good position to be able to just actually go off of my intuition. Like, what does
Yes.
this portion size look like? How much do I need to move? Or if I've moved a little bit less, then how much should I eat? This is something that obviously we teach, but would you say that naturally before, when you went through this journey yourself, you just figured it out by testing? And would you recommend to anyone to just test and see if it works?
Yes, that was a lot of testing involved. I failed many times. Um, and then after starting life in UK, I had other problems to deal with as well. But yes, a lot of try and error, which I would not recommend, because you can educate yourself, you can find a person to support you. That's why I kind of think that my mission as a coach is just to save people time. It's a very precious time, because not only how you look, but also how you feel within yourself, and how how much confidence you gain through shorter period of time that it took me.
If you are a busy, career driven woman and you know that your inability to lose the body fat that you want to lose is stopping you from living a confident, successful life, then hear me out. We have just launched our Fat Loss Accelerator program, which is made specifically for women who are constrained for time, yet they want to lose anywhere between 10 to 25 pounds of body weight within 90 days. Throughout this process, we're also going to teach you exactly what you need to know so that you can maintain this result forever. That it's the lifestyle changes and the habits that you need to implement for the rest of your life to finally become that confident and successful woman who excels in all areas of her life. So if you're interested in finding out more about our Fat Loss Accelerator program, then send me a message on Instagram. Send me the words Fat Loss Accelerator. My Instagram is millie at Team CBM. The link is in description below, and I will get back to you with all the information that you need to know. Back to the episode. How much time do you think you wasted in total?
Oh, 10 years.
You think you could have got to where you are now 10 years faster if you had a coach and a mentor?
100%.
It's crazy. For me, I would definitely say it was 3 years, the first 3 years of my journey. But also that doesn't incorporate all the times that I tried and then I failed or I quit. So from the age of, I would say 14 is where I started my first diet. I grew up as an overweight kid. Like I was overweight, so I could have done with losing some body fat. But from 14, failed repeatedly until at the age of 20. So technically that's 6 years. Um, it's crazy when we think about all of these things that we've done wrong. And now it's manifested itself into your life's purpose, which is to stop other people from wasting that time.
Yes.
What you would say is your biggest joy as a coach? Because you mentioned seeing the happiness on people's faces during those Zumba classes, and now you talk about not wanting others to have to waste this time. But what would you say is the thing that really makes your heart beat when you're doing the work that you do day in, day out?
Oh, the biggest thing is seeing people finally accepting themselves and slowly gaining the confidence that also comes with obviously how the fitness results is going. So seeing that transition, I think, is the most fulfilling thing for me as a coach, because when you finally get to the position you wanted with your body, there's so many other little things in life that do change for the better. We have so many ladies that change their careers, they got promoted, they moving forward with their businesses. It's just so amazing to see that we not only help with the body, but also the head and the mind.
Yeah, but you're a prime example of that, right? You moved from Poland to the UK to come study at university, which could not have been easy whatsoever. But through finding Zumba and becoming a coach and transforming your body, your life, you had the confidence of like not wanting to be here because you were that insecure about your body, to then teaching classes whilst at university in a country that speaks a different language, and now you're settled here, you know, working full time for Team CBM to transform all the women. Like that in itself is testament to why actually getting in amazing shape leads to a life which you never expected, but is a freaking dream life.
Oh, big time.
It's it's simply amazing. And as you say, we have a lot of women that will come onto the team and they'll kind of say, I just want to feel a little bit better in myself. And before you know it, they're then dating, they're then engaged, married, whatever, or they've got these incredible career progressions. And then they need to actually be able to maintain this result long term. They need to be able to go away and to keep it up. And so I think for some context,
Mm.
could you explain like what's been the gap between you obviously being a Zumba instructor to now being a fat loss specialist at Team CBM?
That is quite a gap. A lot of things happen in that time. Uh, After me finally feeling happy with my body, I've started my adult life here in UK. And when I look back on meals, I would not do that again. That was pretty tough. I threw myself in the heart of London, working two jobs. When I started as a PT in Purgem at the time, I was also working in Poundland to pay for my rent in my room that I was sharing with two or three other people sometimes in not the best conditions. So I was really missing my family and my support network, which my parents, my sister, my family was. And I slowly bounced into like a binge evening cycles, which then I realized far too late. I was using food as comfort, which some of our clients go through similar situation, and being able to relate to that is just gold, because you know roughly what is happening with the head and the mindset. So in that gap, when I realized it, it also took me a bit too long to fix that. But we made it in the end. For me, it came also with progression with my career through fitness, and to feel better and bounce out of the situation that was in. Because to a degree, the way we live, the space we are in, it affects us. And I was sharing that bloody dirty room with people I didn't know, feeling also unsafe in the evenings. That made me want to do better and earn more than to bounce out of it. And just that flipped at some point and naturally leans into just being kinder to my body. And I guess it also comes with age and experience, that at some point you just stop running. You're a bit kinder to yourself, because life is very precious.
Life is precious and it's hard when you've got to go through that.
Oh, we
That
went deep, didn't we?
but it's it's just testament to you being one of the hardest workers I've ever met in my life. Like there is no two ways about it. You were in a position which was so rock bottom that you could have either been like, okay, well this is it. I'm destined to work two jobs forever. I'm never going to be able to have any other form of comfort other than trying to earn some money and to just eat food. And
Mm.
I know exactly what that's like. I've been there in thousands of pounds worth of debt and away from home and binge eating and not really seeing a way out, except for, okay, maybe I should probably try and work hard. But you still chose to work hard and you chose to battle through that to get to a position where now you're pulling people out from that same hole that you were in. What does it look like now when it comes to your perception of health, fitness, physique development? That must have changed, as you say, a lot. As you say, you become kinder as you get older, and I completely agree. We're not our uh, teenage selves where we're just beating ourselves up all the time.
Yes, I believe that the fitness lifestyle that I'm having now, it's never gonna go. And therefore, on the weeks I do feel a bit lower. I've had two low weeks when I was in Poland for the last 2 months. I just lost that spark for a bit. Um, and I thought it's okay. I will bounce back out of it, as long as let's say I can control the food on that day and nourish my body. I'll be fine. And it did came back, right? And I didn't gain 10 kilograms. I was feeling good and I was looking good, and I gave myself some grace and came back to it, which in a longer period of time is the consistency that matters, because you know that you'll be keep rolling and you're gonna get there, but you should never stop.
You've also got the experience to know that actually those lulls where you feel lower in motivation, they're temporary because you've been through them before. You trust yourself to come back from them. I think you can really feel the highs and lows so much of a fitness journey when you're first starting. And if you're, let's say, investing time, money into it, you're going to put a lot of intensity and value on that. And I think when you have a guide or a mentor like us to rebalance and say, actually, if this week has been tough personally, let's just pick two priorities
Yeah.
to, wash your hair and like, let's drink 3 liters of water a day. Can we do that? And someone, might think, okay, well, that's stupid. Why would you need a coach to tell you that? But there's times in life where you probably need a coach more, and that's when you're in need, right?
Yes.
And for us, when things are going well, it is a case where we can maintain our progress and we don't necessarily need to think too much about it. But during those times when we first started, and also now when we're in need, it's actually really helpful to have someone to lean on instead of carrying it all yourself, especially if you're, a mum, if you're running your own business, as a lot of our clients do.
Yes. Having someone to lean on, not only from a fitness perspective, but also someone. Also, sometimes we are to cry on, or someone they can speak to, because sometimes it's easier to talk to strangers, and just vent out.
Yeah. And when it comes to idols or inspirations or mentors that have really helped you throughout your journey, is there anyone who comes to mind in particular?
When it comes to physique goals, I've always wanted to be the best version of myself. Um, when it comes to education, guiding through different sources like Diaries of CEOs, Dr. Marcus Rotel on YouTube, he really hits my vibe check when it comes to the humor.
He's so funny. He's so funny. I could
So
watch his
funny.
videos all day, but also you learn so much.
Yeah. And also I had a business mentor some time ago, which they also really helped me, the FBU, from a financial perspective, because as coaches we juggle so many things, right? So we do need help with these little areas that we need to improve on sometimes.
Yeah. And it's when you've got all those areas clicking when it comes to whether it's relationships, friendships, financial resources, fitness, like that's where you become so much more at peace.
Yes.
And it sounds
100%.
it sounds like you are very much so at peace now, but also when it comes to that version of you that felt like you were going to be stuck in a body that you hated forever, that you could not be on the further opposite side of the spectrum because you are literally doing the work now that the younger version of you needed.
Yeah. I wish I could go back in time as a big sister to myself and just give a big hug.
Well, at least at Team CBM, we have you as the big sister who is absolutely transforming everyone's lives. Monica, you are just incredible. You're just a force for good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tom.
I
Millie.
appreciate you.
Well,